At the beginning, a narcissist is often fascinated by an empath. The empath's warmth, patience, and deep understanding feel like endless fuel. To the narcissist, it's intoxicating. Someone who listens, forgives, and heals. But what starts as admiration quickly turns into exploitation. The empath becomes a mirror, reflecting back the narcissist's ideal self. And for a while the narcissist feels powerful, almost invincible. But eventually, like everything else, the empath becomes just another resource to drain. When a narcissist gets tired of an empath, it isn't sudden, it's gradual. They start pulling back affection, criticizing more often, and creating distance. The empath feels this shift deeply, sensing something is off. Yet instead of clarity, the narcissist provides confusion. They mix kindness with cruelty, making the empath question whether it's all in their head. This slow withdrawal is deliberate, a way of testing how much supply the empath will still provide under strain. The first stage of boredom often looks like irritation. The traits that once attracted the narcissist, kindness, compassion, attentiveness, begin to annoy them. They see empathy not as a gift, but as weakness. The empath's gentle nature becomes something to mock. The narcissist grows restless, craving novelty and drama. What once fed their ego no longer excites them. This is the dangerous point where the narcissist begins scanning for new sources of admiration and attention outside the relationship. As the narcissist tires, they often create unnecessary conflict. Small issues are magnified into explosive arguments. The empath, wired to heal and fix, works harder to keep the peace. But this is exactly what the narcissist wants to see: how much effort they can squeeze out while giving less in return. The conflict isn't about solutions, it's about control. The empath bends, apologizes, and forgives, while the narcissist grows colder. The imbalance deepens, leaving the empath drained. Another sign of their boredom is withdrawal of attention. At first, the narcissist was hyper-focused, showering the empath with intensity. Now, they become distracted, distant, even dismissive. Conversations grow shorter, eye contact fades, and affection is rationed. The empath feels abandoned, but continues trying to reconnect. For the narcissist, this withholding is strategic. It reinforces their dominance. By giving less, they force the empath to work harder, proving just how much control they still have. When tired, narcissists also start comparing. They may bring up an ex, praise someone new, or highlight others' qualities as superior. This comparison is poison for an empath, who already tends to internalize criticism. It makes them question their worth, wondering what they're lacking. But the truth is, comparison isn't about truth, it's about manipulation. The narcissist isn't seeking someone better, they're seeking a reaction. The empath's pain becomes the entertainment, and that fuels the narcissist's ego. Projection intensifies during this stage. The narcissist accuses the empath of being selfish, ungrateful, or distant, the very behaviors the narcissist is guilty of. This reversal confuses the empath, who often second-guesses themselves. It's part of the manipulation, blame shifting. By projecting their flaws onto the empath, the narcissist avoids accountability. The empath, driven by compassion, absorbs the blame. This cycle allows the narcissist to maintain control, while further exhausting the empath's emotional reserves. The empath begins to notice patterns. They see how their love is met with indifference, their care with dismissal, yet leaving feels impossible, because they still hope for the person they met at the beginning, the charming version. This hope is the very trap. The narcissist knows it, and uses it. By occasionally showing glimpses of affection, they keep the empath hooked. It's not love, it's reinforcement. A crumb of kindness keeps the empath believing in the illusion. At this stage, narcissists often test boundaries. They may flirt openly, break promises, or disappear without explanation. Each act is a test. How much will the empath tolerate? The empath's forgiving nature becomes a weakness to exploit. Every time a boundary is ignored without consequence, the narcissist grows bolder. They're no longer afraid of losing the empath. In fact, they're counting on their loyalty. This dynamic proves just how dangerous an empath's compassion can be in toxic hands. Eventually, contempt sets in. The narcissist begins to look down on the empath, mocking their softness, ridiculing their patience. What was once adored is now despised. They see the empath not as a partner, but as a tool useful only when needed. The empath feels the sting of this contempt but often tries harder, thinking more love will fix the problem. Sadly, more love never fixes a narcissist's disdain. It only deepens the cycle of abuse. When contempt grows, the narcissist may start mocking the empath publicly. Small jokes at their expense, subtle eye rolls, or open disrespect become routine. To outsiders, it may look like teasing, but to the empath, it cuts deeply. This public humiliation serves a purpose. It lowers the empath's self-worth while boosting the narcissist's ego. By making the empath look weak, the narcissist feels stronger. The cruelty isn't accidental. It's part of the devaluation stage. At this point, emotional neglect becomes common. The narcissist stops checking in, stops listening, and stops caring about the empath's needs. When the empath shares pain, the narcissist dismisses it with cold indifference. This withdrawal is calculated. It teaches the empath that their feelings don't matter. Over time, the empath begins to silence themselves, avoiding vulnerability. This silence benefits the narcissist, who no longer has to pretend to care while still keeping the empath tethered. Gaslighting becomes another tool. The narcissist denies obvious facts, twists conversations, and makes the empath doubt their own memory. "I never said that," or "you're imagining things," becomes common. This manipulation creates confusion. The empath, who trusts deeply, begins to question their own perception. Gaslighting poisons clarity, replacing it with doubt. The more the empath doubts themselves, the more power the narcissist has. This mental fog keeps the empath stuck, chasing validation that never comes. As boredom deepens, the narcissist starts disappearing. They may stay out late, ignore messages, or vanish emotionally, even when present. The empath feels abandoned but clings tighter, desperate for reconnection. This push and pull dynamic is intentional. By withdrawing, the narcissist trains the empath to work harder, to give more, to tolerate more. The empath becomes addicted to the cycle, suffering through absence, just to taste the occasional crumbs of affection when the narcissist returns. Eventually, the narcissist grows restless enough to seek new supply. They may flirt openly, start secret relationships, or spend excessive time chasing admiration elsewhere. The empath senses betrayal but often blames themselves. "Maybe I wasn't enough," they think. This self-blame is exactly what the narcissist wants. By convincing the empath they caused the abandonment, the narcissist avoids accountability. Meanwhile, they enjoy fresh attention, leaving the empath stuck in a spiral of doubt and guilt. The narcissist's boredom reveals something deeper. They never valued the empath for who they were. From the start, it was about extraction. The empath was never seen as a partner, but as a well to draw from. When the well feels empty, the narcissist simply looks for another. This realization is devastating for the empath, who gave everything in good faith. What really happens is not a breakup, it's a discard. The empath is cast aside, like an object. During discard, cruelty intensifies. The narcissist may insult, mock, or degrade the empath openly. They want to ensure the empath feels worthless, making it easier to justify leaving. This cruelty is not a reflection of the empath's value, but of the narcissist's emptiness. Yet, to the empath, it feels crushing. They gave love and received contempt. This emotional violence is the final stage of the cycle, leaving the empath with shattered confidence and unanswered questions. What really happens when a narcissist gets tired of an empath is exposure of the truth. The mask slips completely. The charming, attentive partner disappears, replaced by coldness and disdain. The empath finally sees the reality. The love was never real. It was manipulation disguised as affection. This realization is painful, but it is also powerful. For the first time, the empath sees the narcissist clearly, not as a misunderstood soul, but as a user. The empath often blames themselves for the collapse. They replay every conversation, searching for mistakes. This self-blame is natural, but misplaced. The truth is, no amount of love can satisfy a narcissist's endless hunger. They tire of everyone eventually. The empath's kindness was not the problem. It was their strength. Narcissists grow bored when they can no longer extract what they want. The cycle was always about them, never about the empath's worth or effort. At this stage, the narcissist may smear the empath's name. They tell others the empath was unstable, needy, or toxic. This smear campaign protects their image while isolating the empath further. Friends and family may hear twisted stories, making the empath doubt their own narrative. But the smear reveals the narcissist's fear. By attacking the empath's reputation, they hope to silence the truth. Ironically, the more they smear, the more obvious their guilt becomes over time. After discard, the empath is left with silence. The narcissist moves on quickly, flaunting new relationships or achievements. This display is not love, it's performance. The empath watches, heartbroken, thinking they've been replaced. But replacements are never real. Narcissists recycle the same cycle with new targets. What really happens is repetition. The empath was not unworthy. The narcissist is insatiable. Their need for supply ensures the cycle continues endlessly, with or without the empath. Meanwhile, the empath begins healing. At first it feels impossible. The wounds are deep, the confusion overwhelming. But slowly, clarity grows. The empath learns the truth. The love was conditional. The kindness was one-sided. And the pain was never their fault. Healing is not quick, but it is powerful. With each step forward, the empath reclaims pieces of themselves the narcissist tried to destroy. This process is the beginning of transformation, born from survival. 23. The narcissist, on the other hand, feels nothing lasting. Their boredom drives them to chase the next thrill. But emptiness always follows. When they tire of the new supply, the cycle repeats. Unlike the empath, they never grow, never change. They remain trapped in a pattern of hunger that no one can satisfy. What really happens is stagnation. The empath eventually evolves, but the narcissist stays the same, forever restless, forever empty, forever searching. The empath's greatest wound is also their greatest strength. They loved deeply, fully, and sincerely. That love was exploited, but it was never wasted. It proves the empath's humanity. What hurts the narcissist most is knowing they cannot feel or give love in the same way. When tired of an empath, the narcissist discards love itself, but the empath carries it forward, using their gift to heal themselves and others. That enduring love is the ultimate victory. In time, the empath realizes that being discarded was not rejection, but release. The narcissist getting tired was not proof of failure, but proof of the empath's resilience. What really happens is freedom. Freedom from manipulation, from confusion, from endless games. The empath may grieve, but beneath the pain lies liberation. The narcissist boredom becomes the empath's opportunity to rebuild, to rediscover their worth, and to live without chains disguised as affection. When a narcissist tires, they may attempt to return later, testing if the empath is still available. They send messages, show up unexpectedly, or drop hints of regret. This hoovering is not about love, it's about supply. They wonder if the empath still longs for them, but by then the empath has learned. The return of the narcissist only confirms the cycle. What really happens is repetition, unless the empath breaks it by refusing to reopen the door. For the empath, the aftermath is heavy. They carry confusion, broken trust, and fear of repeating mistakes. But healing transforms these scars into wisdom. The empath learns to set boundaries, to recognize red flags, and to protect their energy. This evolution is what truly separates the empath from the narcissist. While the narcissist repeats cycles endlessly, the empath grows. Pain becomes a teacher, and survival becomes strength. That transformation is what really happens after discard. When the narcissist gets tired of an empath, they lose more than they realize. They discard someone who offered unconditional support, deep understanding, and genuine care. They may not feel the loss immediately, but over time, it gnaws at them. No new supply can replicate the depth of an empath's love. What really happens is a loss disguised as victory. The narcissist walks away smug, but in reality, they've thrown away the rarest gift they'll ever know. The empath eventually realizes that the narcissist's boredom says nothing about their worth. It's not that the empath wasn't enough. It's that the narcissist is never satisfied. This shift in perspective is powerful. It turns pain into clarity. The empath learns that being tired of someone who gave everything is the narcissist's flaw, not theirs. What really happens is a reversal. The empath gains wisdom while the narcissist remains stuck in emptiness, chasing illusions. What's left for the empath is healing, growth, and rediscovery. They reconnect with passions, nurture new relationships, and rebuild confidence. The process is slow, but it's real. Each step away from the narcissist is a step toward freedom. Meanwhile, the narcissist stays trapped in cycles of hunger. That contrast reveals the truth. The empath's story continues, while the narcissist's story repeats. In the end, what really happens is not the empath's ending, but their beginning. The empath learns that silence is not weakness, but power. When the narcissist grows tired and discards them, the empath's quiet healing becomes louder than any argument. This silence speaks of resilience. It tells the narcissist, "You no longer matter here." That truth is painful for them, but liberating for the empath. What really happens is that silence becomes strength, and strength becomes the empath's new voice, calm, steady, and impossible to manipulate again. In many cases, the narcissist circles back to see if the empath's light still shines. They test the waters, looking for cracks in the healing. But the empath, now wiser, doesn't give in. They've learned that what once felt magical was only manipulation. What really happens is that the empath no longer falls for illusions. This hurts the narcissist deeply, because it proves the empath outgrew them. Growth is the empath's shield, and it ends the cycle for good. The narcissist's boredom also reveals their emptiness. Unlike the empath, who grows through pain, the narcissist remains stuck. When they tire of someone, they believe they've won, but in truth, they've lost. Their inability to value genuine love ensures they will keep discarding what others treasure. What really happens is self-destruction. The narcissist's endless hunger leaves them hollow, while the empath rebuilds a life of meaning. That contrast is the real outcome of their tiredness. For the empath, healing means redefining love. They learn that true love doesn't drain, it nourishes. It doesn't confuse, it clarifies. This realization transforms them. The narcissist getting tired becomes the catalyst for a new understanding of relationships. What really happens is growth. The empath carries forward not just scars but wisdom. They become more discerning, more resilient, and more protective of their gift. The very pain that once broke them becomes the foundation of their strength. The empath also learns the importance of boundaries. The narcissist's boredom forced them to face how little their needs were valued. From this, they learn to draw lines, to say no, to protect their energy. Boundaries become the armor they lacked before. What really happens is empowerment. The narcissist may view it as weakness, but boundaries are strength. They ensure the empath never repeats the same cycle again, and that's a victory the narcissist can never erase. When a narcissist grows tired, they reveal their dependency on control. Without the empath's attention, they feel restless, incomplete. But the empath discovers independence. What really happens is a trade. The narcissist loses stability, while the empath gains freedom. This reversal is powerful. The one once seen as weak becomes strong, while the one who pretended strength is exposed as fragile. That truth defines the aftermath, separating growth from stagnation in a clear, undeniable way. The narcissist's pattern of boredom shows they cannot sustain intimacy. They thrive on the chase, not the bond. For the empath, this becomes a painful but clear lesson. What really happens is clarity, the realization that no amount of empathy can fix someone who refuses to value connection. This understanding frees the empath. They stop blaming themselves and start seeing the narcissist for who they are, a performer chasing endless supply, never capable of true love. When the narcissist discards the empath, they often underestimate the comeback. They expect the empath to collapse permanently. But what really happens is resilience. The empath rises again, stronger, wiser, and more self-aware. The narcissist may mock their recovery, but inside, they feel threatened. Nothing hurts them more than seeing the person they discarded thrive without them. It proves their control was temporary, and their power was never as strong as they believed. The empath's comeback also highlights the narcissist's failure. They tried to break someone, and instead created growth. The empath learns new skills, builds new relationships, and discovers strength they didn't know they had. What really happens is transformation. The narcissist grows tired and moves on, but the empath evolves. That evolution is painful, but priceless. It ensures that the empath is never the same again, stronger, wiser, and impossible to control in the same way. As the empath heals, they learn the power of choice. They realize love is not about sacrifice without return. It's about mutual respect. This shift changes everything. The narcissist getting tired becomes a turning point, not an ending. What really happens is empowerment. The empath stops seeing themselves as victims and starts seeing themselves as survivors. This perspective shift is a victory no narcissist can take away, because it comes from within, not from external validation. The narcissist's smear campaigns eventually reveal their own instability. Over time, people notice the patterns. They see how every relationship ends the same way, with the narcissist blaming the other person. What really happens is exposure. The empath doesn't need to defend themselves. Truth emerges on its own. The narcissist's boredom and cruelty become evidence of their emptiness. Meanwhile, the empath's quiet dignity speaks volumes, proving character outlasts deception every time. For the empath, healing also means embracing solitude. What once felt like loneliness becomes freedom. Solitude is no longer a punishment, but a sanctuary. This shift breaks one of the narcissist's deepest spells, the fear of being alone. What really happens is liberation. The empath discovers peace in their own company, proving they never needed the narcissist to feel whole. This realization is a permanent wound for the narcissist, who depends on others for identity. The empath eventually learns to trust again. It takes time, but healing restores faith in genuine love. This trust doesn't make them naive, it makes them wise. They recognize red flags sooner, honor their boundaries, and protect their energy. What really happens is renewal. The narcissist's boredom and discard become the soil from which new trust grows. The empath emerges not weaker but stronger, ready to build healthier connections in the future. The narcissist, however, never changes. Their pattern of boredom ensures they repeat the same cycle with each new person. What really happens is stagnation. They move in circles, never forward. The empath may have suffered, but they grow. This contrast is the ultimate outcome. Growth versus repetition. One story continues, the other stalls. The narcissist remains restless, while the empath, once discarded, learns to thrive. That difference tells the real story of what happens. The empath's scars become reminders, not prisons. Each wound carries a lesson. Trust yourself, honor your needs, protect your energy. These lessons guide them toward a future where they are no longer prey for narcissists. What really happens is wisdom. The empath may carry scars, but they also carry strength. The narcissist's boredom becomes the very reason the empath learns to value themselves more deeply. Pain transforms into power, and that power lasts forever. When the narcissist grows tired, they reveal their truth. Love was never the goal, only control. For the empath, this truth is heartbreaking, but clarifying. What really happens is understanding. They finally see that nothing they did could have changed the outcome. This clarity lifts the weight of blame. The empath realizes the tiredness wasn't about failure. It was about the narcissist's emptiness. This understanding marks the beginning of real freedom and lasting healing. The empath's journey after discard becomes their greatest revenge, not in cruelty, but in survival, thriving, smiling, Loving again is the ultimate response. What really happens is resilience. The narcissist hoped to leave them broken, but instead, the empath grows into someone stronger than before. This resilience is what the narcissist can never achieve. They move on to new supply, unchanged, while the empath evolves into someone untouchable. That contrast is the empath's true victory. The narcissist's boredom exposes their inability to sustain love. The empath's growth exposes their ability to transform pain into wisdom. What really happens is divergence. Two paths split, one of stagnation, one of evolution. The narcissist remains trapped forever chasing validation. The empath becomes free, walking toward a life defined not by manipulation, but by choice. That split is permanent, ensuring the empath's story moves forward, while the narcissist remains stuck in repetition. For the empath, closure doesn't come from the narcissist. It comes from within. They stop waiting for apologies or explanations. They write their own ending, one filled with peace and self-respect. What really happens is self-liberation. The narcissist gets tired and discards, but the empath reclaims their power. In the quiet of healing, they discover the truth. They never needed the narcissist's love to be whole. Their closure is freedom, and freedom is priceless. In the end, when a narcissist gets tired of an empath, what really happens is not the empath's destruction, it's the narcissist's exposure. The empath may hurt, but they heal. The narcissist may discard, but they repeat. What remains is truth. The empath's love was real. The narcissist's was an illusion, and illusions always fade. The empath rises, wiser and stronger, while the narcissist remains trapped in emptiness. That is the real outcome of their tiredness.